Hey guys!
Welcome back to our channel,
Plots with a Twist.
where we discuss books.
Amongst other things, and we are getting into our best and worst reads of 2021. Yeah, we're sitting down, thinking through everything. So let's get into it. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and start off. Do you want to start off with? We'll start off with the worst.
Yeah, let's start with the worst. So
you
start since you
have five
read so many
picks.
bad books last year.
I didn't read that many. I just went with 5 picks. I thought that was a good, well-rounded number. So, okay. So coming in at number 5. This is made my list because it wasn't so much that it was a bad book. It was more so it didn't give me what I wanted. It was disappointing because, you know, I'm a fan of this author and this particular book just didn't do anything for me. And that's The Searcher by Tana French. So if you recall, it's just, you know, about this guy. He retired, a retired cop from Chicago, moves to Ireland, gets involved in this situation where he's locating this, helping this teen locate their brother. So yeah, it was a labored read. Usually she does have a lot of details in her books, but she did so much to make, to build a backstory for him that you actually forgot that there was something going on in the present. Like, it was just a lot. It was a lot to kind of, you can read her effort in trying to make this story plausible and believable. And it just was a little too much instead of just focusing on the actual interesting part, which is the search for this missing brother. So yeah, it just didn't do what I needed it to do for me from Tana. So that's why it made my number 5 spot. So go ahead, girl.
Okay, so in my number 5 spot, much like Kristen, it wasn't that. First of all, let me start by saying I didn't read that many books last year. I only read 18 books. And 90% of the books I read were good. They were really good.
Yeah, I struggled.
So I couldn't really find, like, you know, a lot of like bad, like, oh, I just hated this book. So for the sake of the video and just, you know, having a list, I'm putting this at number 5 because it wasn't as good as the other books that I have read from this author. And initially, it was a little disappointing. I feel like after I read it, it was like, okay.
I feel like I know what you're going to say.
And it's Anxious People by Frederick Backman. And it was a bad book. If you guys remember me talking about it, it's not that I didn't like it, but I feel like Kristen hyped it up. And then when I read it,
I did not hype it up. I said it was good, and I stand by that. I thought it was great, it was decent. Actually.
For Frederick, I expect
more. But I
more.
didn't do no.
I expect more.
Girl, I didn't do all that.
I expected more from him. And the thing that threw me about this book, I felt like all the characters were very annoying. Like, a lot of the characters were just very annoying and, like, pretentious and whatever. So I just put it at my number, I'm going to say number 4 spot because I don't have that many. I only have 4 books that I didn't really like. So,
but at the bottom of your, at the top of the bottom.
Yes, at the top of the bottom because it's not a bad book. Like, I still would tell people to read it, but it just wasn't my favorite of last year. So,
okay.
She mad.
Wow. Just wow. Okay, number 4 for me is Ready Player 2 by Chris Klein. Oh, what's the name? Yeah, I didn't write down the name of the authors because I was confident in my ability to recall. But I'm blanking right now. But Ready Player 2 is a sequel to Ready Player 1. It's very much a dystopic kind of futuristic book of this boy, follows the story of this boy and his rise to acclaim by winning this challenge in the first book, where he goes from rags to riches pretty much. So the second book kind of goes into the aftermath of the first book, and ultimately a new challenge is launched and a whole bunch of stuff happened. So I will say, for me, it didn't reclaim. I'll put, you know what? I got a second one I put with it, kind of like the prequel to Hunger Games. Both of them were like kind of like, I get why they were produced. I get what they were trying to do. They were pretty much cash grabs to me. But yeah, I just it made the main character kind of unlikable for me. It really put him in a position to kind of win you back, and it's ultimately like, why do all that when the first story was like winning us over, and he didn't do enough to kind of come back in your good graces in the second book. It was just to me a duplication of the first book. It just was unnecessary. So yeah, that was Ready Player 2. It was entertaining a bit if you liked that type of climate and setting and things like that in the first book. But other than that, besides that, yeah, just it was unnecessary. So Ready Player 2.
Okay, so number 3 on my list is also another book that I don't want to put it in like the worst, but it was just one of my least favorable books of last year, and that was The Other Black Girl by Zakiya Sally Harris, I think. Yeah, so you know, we talked about that book on here and our thoughts, and it just really left me confused, and it had a lot going on, and then there was an element of like, I want to say almost horror, and I don't know if that's supposed to be like put in there, but it just didn't give what I thought it was gonna gave, and yeah, I don't know, that book disappointed me. Even though Kristen kind of set it up and told me that I was gonna be like, girl, I don't know. But yeah, it just kind of disappointed me, and I wanted to like it because it's a Black author and it's about like young Black girl in New York City finding her way through publishing and all that stuff. But it didn't make sense to me. It didn't make sense, and maybe I'm just missed the mark on it. Maybe I just didn't understand, and I'm open to that too. But didn't like it. I have told people to read it just so I can hear their thoughts to see if I'm tripping, like type thing. So yeah, that was The Other Black Girl.
Yeah, it's a book club book. It's definitely a discussion where
and that's what I guess the good thing is. It opens up a lot of discussion about what you call it, code switching and all that type of stuff. So yeah, it just was a little. The ending was what really threw me. Hated it, but yeah.
I enjoyed the journey, just not the ending.
Yeah.
Okay, that's shocking. So number 3 for me, surprisingly, and I say surprisingly because honestly I would have put it lower, but I read worse books this year. And that's The Maidens by Alex Michaelides. Yeah, we also talked about that book as well. Did not get on with it. As they say overseas, did not get on with it. Ooh, I don't do accents good, sorry. But yes, I feel like it's on your list, so I'm not gonna go into details, but just about these girls, this mystery surrounding these girls' deaths on this college campus, and they are in this group called the Maidens, who pretty much are Greek fanatics following this professor around, and one of the girl's friends draws her aunt in, who's a group therapist, because she believes the first victim is one of her friends, and then from there ensues this aunt's curiosity, this aunt looking into the killings of these girls, and yeah, it just wasn't good for me. We have a book review on that, so you can get more of our thoughts, but yeah, I just didn't really enjoy the story. Now reading that, and then have read Silent Patient. I prefer Silent Patient,
which is also kind of bad.
Which is, in our opinion, let's make it clear, Silent Patient has done well. People enjoy it. We just didn't. So yeah, The Maidens was one of those that I'm okay. I'm good.
Okay, so third pick for me. Wait.
You on 2?
Yeah,
because you didn't have
I have 4. I had to think about it. So okay, second pick for me is this book called Pieces Every Step by however you say his name. I don't know how to say it, but and again, it's not a horrible book. I just didn't. It was very surface level.
Okay.
To me, and I think it's because it's an adaptation of like a larger text from him, But yeah, it just didn't do what I thought it was gonna do for me, and it kind of was like repeating stuff that I've already heard. And yeah, so I don't know. I didn't have bad books, y'all. I read some good books, so it was hard for me to put this list together. But that was definitely like one that I was just like, could have did without it. That's what I will say. And that's actually the only nonfiction book I read last year, I think.
Mm-hmm. Did I read any? I'm not a nonfiction girl. I dabble in it. I dabble, but I'm not a nonfiction girl. Okay. So number 2 for me is The Dead and the Dark. The Dark and the Dead by Courtney Gold.
Never even heard of it.
I talked about it, so that means you weren't even listening. It's cool because I don't either. So it's about this girl and her dad's moving back to their home, her dad's hometown. They're paranormal investigators. And there's a string of disappearances in the town, which most of the people attribute to their dad's appearances back in the town. They think her dads have something to do with it. Meanwhile, she strikes up a friendship and eventually a relationship with one of the local girls. Yeah, it's just uncovering what happened to all these people, what's going on, all that jazz. So it was this author's debut, so I did say that I'm not put off by her writing, but the story just had too many elements that it was trying to figure out. It had too many things going on. The pacing was kind of off for me because relationships escalated really quickly when it didn't make sense for them to escalate as quickly as they did. Elements as you was getting to what you thought was a climax, other elements was thrown in, a climax. Other elements was thrown in, and it's like, why are you bringing up a new conflict for them to figure out? So it was just a lot. So I think for me, that just made it seem like I didn't need to read this type book. But like I said, I'll give the author another go if she does, come out with anything in the future. But yeah, that I just didn't really enjoy that story. It did kind of feel like I could have read, that's bad to say, I don't want to say that, but it felt like I could have read something else and got more use of my time. That's rude. But that's how I felt. I'm sorry, I'm being honest. So yeah, I wasn't completely put off. It's just the plot. It just was too much and not enough going on at the same time, if that makes sense. So
okay, so number 1 pick for me is The Maidens, Alice McLeady's. Hated it. It was just like, huh? So his writing is okay. It's just the plots and the twists that don't make sense to me.
I got a book you forgot. So yeah, that's my number 1.
What?
Go ahead and finish your thoughts. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
So yeah, no, that was it because you already talked about it, and you guys know I think we did we do a book review? Yeah, just so we can talk about how much we didn't like it. So yeah, you guys already know our thoughts on that, and that was probably like the worst book I read last year, I think.
Really?
I think so.
Okay, well, coming in at number 1 for me, I gave her chance after chance after chance, and she still has not done it for me. Second chance was okay, but first and this last one, I'm done. And that is Velvet Was the Night by Sylvia Garcia Marina.
I didn't read any of her books.
Or is it Marina Garcia?
Oh, I didn't finish that book. That's why I didn't put it on the list. Yeah.
Right.
It was bad.
Yes.
Yeah. That's the only one I've read by her.
Is it Sylvia Marina Garcia?
Yeah.
Okay. I
Marina Garcia.
But yes. Okay. So that one, I have no idea what it was about. It was
about
supposed
like writers and like the revolution.
It was about the revolution. No writer. It was photographers.
No, she was like one of them people was a writer.
She was a secretary.
Oh, to the writing.
Okay.
That's
lawyers, I think.
No, like one of them. It was a lot going on.
It was no writer.
Yes, it was.
Okay.
You don't even know what it was about.
I do. I was exaggerating, but it's about. It's supposed to be like a neo-noir. Supposed to be kind of like a thriller vibe or whatnot. When I tell you, you get none of that. I've attempted a few noir, so it's not like I know, like, and immediately recognize noir stories. I know they have a certain tone, a certain pacing, and no. And then thriller, the only thing thriller about that was the fact that someone went, like, missing.
Yeah.
it was basically a melodramatic romance story trying to pretend like it's like this deep thriller. It does pay nods to, like, yes, the revolution, or, you know, communism and things like that, and radicals and rebels fighting. You don't even get none of that. It talks about it, but it's only an attachment to these characters. So really, I thought maybe it was where I was at the point of the story, but I did finish it, which I forgot to mention. I think I finished it in December. That's why I forgot to mention, because Lord, I don't even remember how it ended. It was nothing that was alluring to me in regards to the story. It was confusing as to what the point of the story was. It was just, the characters weren't really particularly likable. Yeah, and that just seems to be the theme of her stories. They just don't give enough. And it's like you're confused, because maybe it's you attaching it to a genre, but it's just you're confused at what the point of the story is. If the point was to be allured and drawn in by this thriller or mystery aspect of it, no. If the point was to be like get a noir story, no. It didn't even say it was like a quasi romance. And even that wasn't successful. So I don't know what the point of the story was, which is why I didn't enjoy reading it. So that was pretty much, I probably could have dissected my books a little bit more, but I feel like that was probably one of my worst reads for the year. So I'm sorry. All right, but let's
get into the good stuff.
Let's
the
get
good
into that.
books. The good reads. I had to really narrow it down, because I read all good books.
Yeah, so I did read a lot of good books too.
Yeah.
So this for me was more challenging than my worst list, which my worst list was challenging too, honestly. But I think I had read enough books that I didn't really enjoy for it to be a little bit easier than my best list. So
Okay.
You want to start with your number 5?
Okay, so my number 5 is a book that I talked about on here a bunch of times, and I just love the book. I love the story. It made me cry a little bit, like tear up, and it made me root for the main character. I just wanted to see her do good and do better. And that was Dominicana by Angie Cruz.
Okay.
So, and that's number 5, which says a lot, because I really enjoyed that book. Because
what? I thought it would be higher for you.
I know, but I feel like I read a lot of good books. Like, and then like I feel like towards the latter of the year, I read some books that just kind of like I was like really enjoyed them and didn't expect to really enjoy them, so it kind of made it there.
Yeah, they elevated.
Yeah, so
okay.
yeah. But that's my number 5 pick, and if you guys remember, that's about the young lady who was taken from her family in Dominican Republic, basically sold off from her family in Dominican Republic to like, she was like 15, and she went to go live with this older man who, and like, was caught in like this abusive relationship in New York City by herself, not speaking any English, and just how she kind of, you know, navigates that. And it was just so heart-wrenching, and it was good. I really enjoyed the writing style of the author, and I want to read some more of her stuff if she has other stuff. Stop looking at my stuff.
I'm curious as to what's higher than that for you. Okay.
So yeah, so that's for me.
Okay. So like I said, I struggled with this list. So if I go back, like, watch, I'm gonna edit this video, go back and be like, oh, I should have included this, or I should have put this in a different ranking.
Last year, so it's.
I did, and they all were hearty good reads. So I put number 5 for me was The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue.
Oh, I thought that would have been higher for you.
You know what? It's because I read it in January.
Yeah.
It was very much the beginning of the year. I had started it last December and didn't quite finish it, so it did count for my tally for this year. So The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, a fantasy-based book about this girl who's pretty much cursed to live a life where when she exits people's presence, they forget about her. And really the part of the deal is she can do that until she's done. And so she lives pretty much, was it like 300 years, 400 years, however old she is. So she makes it to 20, so she's starting late 17th century, I can't remember, but pretty much she makes it to the 2000s and meets this guy who somehow, some way can remembers her, and there ensues a budding, you know, connection. So I really enjoyed V. Schwab's writing style. I really enjoyed the plot of the story. I really enjoyed the unfolding of events. So it was a really all-around enjoyable book that I would highly recommend. So, yep.
Okay. So that was my number 4 pick.
Really?
And I put it before Dominicana because I wasn't expecting to like it so much.
Okay.
And you know, I don't really like, I would say I'm not really into like fantasy and stuff books, but I am low key I am. It just has to be a good story, and I like when it's a little romance attached to it. So
okay.
I really enjoyed that story as well. So go.
Okay, so number 4. Oh, you do number 4. Oh, that was your number 4.
That was my number 4.
Okay, so number 4 for me was I might switch these now. I think I'm gonna switch these.
I switched mine around the last minute. Not that one, but the last one.
So I switch. Dominicana was number 4 for me. Mm-hmm. So that was a book.
You liking it,
right? So that was a book. I feel like I would have liked it, but that was a book. Asia was edging me and pushing me to
It's not
read.
a book you would have picked on your own.
I don't think it was a book I would have picked on my own at all. But she explained the synopsis already. I just really enjoyed the writing. I like I love a simplistic approach to writing where you still get the point. You still get the emotions. You still get
the emotion was very she wrote emotion very well.
And I love a good book that, you know, you could tell the writers and authors' emotions are involved in it, because it translates as you're reading it. So really, I thought that was a very stirring and emotional read. You really felt like you was in there with a young woman. You really wanted her to persevere and overcome her situation. It was a beautifully uncomfortable story too. So yeah, I just really was again surprised at how much I enjoyed the story with it being so minimalistic at the same time. So yeah, that was my number 4. So what's your number 3?
Number 3.
Do we have the same number 3?
I don't know. My number 3 is We Are Not Like Them by Christina Pride and Joe Piazza.
I forgot about that book and I just read it.
Right. So yeah, that was my number 3 because it was one of the books that I read towards the end of the year, and it just I don't know. I knew I would like it just from the it's about 2 best friends that grew up together. One is black, one is white, and basically just dives into race and how certain events affect their friendship dealing with race. So we've talked about the book before, so I'm not gonna go into a lot of detail, but yeah, I know I would like it because the synopsis gave very much scandalous, juicy, like, ooh, what's gonna happen between them, but also it wasn't it was told in a way that one, it was written by 2 separate authors, but it felt like one voice, so that was nice, because I think we've read I've only read a couple of books like that, and I think they seem kind of amateurish in the writing. When it's 2 authors involved, and with this it didn't feel like that at all. And then the way they tackled the issues in the story, I think from both sides, with both perspectives, you could understand both of the characters and understand why they were feeling the way they felt. And so I just really enjoyed it, and I thought it was a great story and well written. So yeah, that's number 3 for me. I don't know, I think in that time of my life too, I was just I don't know, I just really liked it. I don't know, I just really enjoyed the book. So that made its way to number 3, and I would definitely read a book from them 2 again if they decided to. So yeah.
Okay, so number 3 for me, again, the books I have put this in, I don't really feel like you can place them in order, but I really did enjoy this book, and that's Concrete Rose.
I knew that's gonna be on your list. I love that book too.
It's not on your list? Okay, so good. We're talking about different books. So Concrete Rose, we did a book review on that as well, I believe. Did we? I think so. But pretty much just gave another perspective of some of her operating in the same, neighborhood she's created. And it's not technically a prequel to The Hate U Give, but it does focus in on the main character Star's father, Maverick, during his teen years and facing the fact that he's going to be a teen father at 17 and just dealing with that situation, as well as trying to figure out his life. He's involved in gang activity, trying to define what it means and looks like for him to be a man. and how that fights and combats against what he's learned, you know, from the streets, of what that definition looks like. So I really enjoyed it. I love Angie Thomas writing. I've read all her books now, and really she's one who doesn't miss. She gives a great perspective from just really the situation she writes through. It's not heavy, but it's like necessary. Like it still gives you an education, it gives you insight, it gives you just enjoyment and learning about tough situations. So yeah, I just really thoroughly enjoyed that book. I really enjoyed how it ended. It's just she strikes a good balance within her books, and so yeah, it made my number 3 spot. So Concrete Rose. Okay, so
my last 2 books is gonna really like blow your mind.
Really?
Because you guys will probably see our TV on wrap up before this. The books that I mentioned in my wrap up, I technically finished in the beginning of January, so I'm really gonna count those for 2022. So that's why they didn't make it, because I really love those, but that's why I didn't really put them in this or whatever. So number 2, Kristen is gonna be laying. But I put Black Girls Must Die Exhausted by I forgot the author's name. So let me tell y'all why. Jane Allen. So I like this book because it felt like reading Girlfriends, the show, but like on thing. Not really, because the characters were not similar or whatever. I'm just putting all black people in one group. But no, I say that to say like it I thought it was relatable in the sense of it's about a young woman. I forget the main character's name, but basically she's at like a turning point in her. She is at a turning point in her life. She finds out that she only has a couple eggs left to give birth. She's kind of at a standstill in her career that she's trying to move forward from, and then she's in a relationship with a guy.
Tabitha Walker.
Yeah, not you remembering the stuff.
I was sitting here thinking because I knew it was the same as her grandmother.
Yeah, and so and she's in a relationship with a man that she just feels like, you know, she wants to know where this relationship is going, and she needs to have this baby. So what's going on? So, and I just feel like as a 30-something-year-old woman, I ain't got no on my age, but as a 30-something-year-old woman, that's like so relatable. And then like all her friends, and they're kind of dealing with the same thing. One is going through stuff with their marriage, another one is having like some mental health issues, and I don't know, it's just like a really easy read. I felt like it was relatable. A lot of the pop culture references were, you know, spot on to like what we talk about today, and I just really enjoyed it. It was very light, but also had some like real issues and real life things going on. So I don't know, I put it at number 2 because I really enjoyed it, and I think it's a part of a series, so I'm interested to see like how the characters develop. I hope it has good character development. So yeah,
I mean, just show list. It's show list. You know what? I figured out what it lacked for me.
She said it was pretentious, but I feel like we've read way more pretentious books than that.
We have,
and it was fine.
I figured out what it lacked for me. It lacked emotion. It lacked emotion
I feel
for
like
me.
It was emotion. You didn't get emotional when the I don't want to say spoil it.
I mean, I feel like it lacked
the grandma and then the husband.
I feel like the author approached it from a logical point of view, not a
heartfelt. Yeah, it didn't have the Dominicana heartfelt emotion.
Yes,
I can see that, but that's why I said it was kind of a light read, but still had like, you know, touched on some issues. So
but that's just our opinion. But yeah, good for you. Number 2, girl. Okay, so for me, number 2 was the biggest surprise for me this year.
I'm trying to see, and I can't even read your handwriting.
And I usually write neat, but I scribbled it.
I can't even see.
The biggest surprise for me for the year. I've read a good amount of books.
You're gonna be surprised at my number 1.
I feel like I am, but I read a good amount of books for 2021. But the biggest surprise I feel like was The House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune.
That's your number 2?
Yes, I can see
thoroughly that for you, because you love that book.
I thoroughly enjoyed that book, and I had zero expectations when it came to that
this
book.
On my little Libby list.
You will like it. I told you, it gives like the Home for Peculiar Kids meets, you know, like I said, I told you it's like Frederick Bachman wrote a fantasy novel. Like it's deeper than just a fantasy book. It has a lot of metaphors. It has a lot of it's a deeper meaning to the book, and you immediately sense that as you're reading. But because it's fantasy, it's still light. It's still strikes a good balance. So I really thoroughly enjoyed that book. I really did not expect to enjoy it. I thought I would like it, but I didn't think it was going to be like, oh my God, this book moved me. And that's really what it boiled down to. It was just a surprisingly moving book. Had all the emotions. It was funny. It was hilarious. Well, I ain't gonna say hilarious like I am, but it was a little chuckle here and there, and it brought you like teary-eyed. Like it had a roller coaster of emotions involved that you were happy to go through. So I will say, yes, that book was good, girl.
I put it on my list. I'll see if it's
Number
cracked
2.
up. Okay,
She go now that if you say I hyped that up and you read it and you're like, Kristen, I hyped it up, I will agree. All these other books you said I hyped up, I did.
You do. You hyping them up. Okay, so my number 1 pick, you guys.
I'm be surprised.
I loved it. It was a book that actually Kristen told me to read. And I ended up really enjoying it, and I just felt it was very heartfelt, and it warmed my heart in very much different moments. It was one character in particular, I just loved him so much. And this is the reading list by...
Oh my goodness!
She's so happy. The reading
Because
list.
I have honorable mentions. That was on my honorable mention. I didn't know if we was going to do
Sarah
that.
Nisha
But
Adams.
no!
So that, I don't know, that book, when I was listening to it, I would be at work and I'm listening to it, and I would just be like just stop and just like think about certain things. And one of the main characters, what was the older guy's name?
Mukesh Pai.
Mukesh. Yeah, I loved him. Like, it was just so interesting to see the characters develop in the book and their relationships grow, and how he just navigated from like not reading books at all. And I guess because I'm a reader too, it was just nice to see like how books affect people or whatever. How he never read books at all, but then when his wife passed, he started to read all these books, and then like at the end, like when they found out who the list was from, it was just so cute. I really love that book. It just warmed my heart. Yeah, I did. I really enjoyed that book. So that's my number 1. Y'all should read it if you haven't already. That's my number 1 pick.
That was an honorable mention. So I wrote down. I didn't know if you...
list.
Well,
you read a lot.
I wanted to consider. I wanted to consider my whole year. And yeah, I did read a lot of books. But yeah, that was definitely one that I would put up there along with The Midnight Library and Malibu Rising. So I put those on
Midnight
my...
Library is an honorable mention for me.
Yeah. But okay, so as far as my number 1, it probably would have been Asia's number 1 if she got it in December. But I got this book in December. When I tell you, we're going to do a book review. When I tell you this book gave me everything I needed. Everything I needed.
I started it. I almost finished in December, but
every single thing I could want as a reader,
it would have been my number 1 too.
Gave it to me. Yeah. It was, emotional. It was funny. It was moving.
It was funny.
Tantalizing. It was steamy. Girl, and that is 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. Now that one, I did not expect to enjoy it. I thought it was a very well-rounded book. I thought it was a very robust book. I thought it had just a lot of elements that worked really nicely together. You had, you still had things and nods to race and racism, but you also had a romance, a love story, and one that you wanted to follow, one that you wanted to be involved.
You had to know what was gonna happen.
Smart main characters that thought through their decisions and actually did those things they thought through, and it made sense. We'll talk about it more. We'll talk about it more. But that was, I couldn't have asked for a better book to end the year off in. It might have been the timing and why I enjoyed it so much, and maybe why it made number 1 for me. And maybe I have read something better this year and I'm just giving it more credit, but it was everything. It was everything. So, but we'll get more into it.
Yes. Stay tuned for that. So,
all right,
that was our list, you guys. Let us know what you read. If you agreed or disagreed with any of the picks that we had. But I feel like even though I only read 18 books, that's a little bit. I feel like I had a really good reading year though. Just as far,
don't say that.
I know. I don't care because people be reading 5 books in whatever. So, To people that don't read, they feel like I read that. That's a lot. But yeah. So I don't know. I felt like even though I didn't read that as many as I wanted to, I had a really good reading year still. So
yeah, I think I got to. My goal was 50. I think I got to 39.
That's good.
Yeah. All right. Yes. Let us know. Like this video. Subscribe. Ring the bell. And we will be back next time.
Bye.
Bye.